Hey guys, Mike Toy Bonsai Boise. Thought today would be a good day to do an update on my Ficus Fusion project. Look at that ugly wrap job. Looks terrible. Not happy with it at all. So we're going to change that today. But just a sneak peek here at what I've been messing with lately. You'll notice the greenhouse is half empty or half full, depending on your perspective. But I noticed an insect problem. I don't know if it's scale or fruit flies or what exactly it is. It's not terrible, but it's bothering me. So I've been pulling them out one by one, rinsing them off, then spraying them with neem oil. Stuff is expensive. It's like $10 a bottle. Gone through like 3 bottles. So here you can see they're all accumulating. I have a forest growing on my kitchen countertop. But the issue is once you spray it down with neem oil, you don't want to stick it back into the nest of insects. So you got to keep it isolated, get it all done, and then clean it out. Then you can put them back in. But I digress. Let's get back to the fusion project today. All right. So going back in time a little bit. This is back in November of 2021. I pulled it out of the greenhouse to take a look at it. And what I noticed is that this gardening tape I've been using, what I thought was going to happen is that the adhesive, the tiny little bit of adhesiveness would sort of go away, just dry up and go away, and then you'd be left with the paper. But the paper is actually drying up and the adhesive part is sticking. You'll see in a second here when I take it off that it's kind of just sticking to the trunk. So what started as just a little status check turned into a whole thing. Here in a second, as soon as I peel it off, you'll see what I mean. It kind of looks like a mummy. Let me pull it off. And if you've seen some previous videos, you've seen I've tried different methods. I tried electrical tape at one point, which works great, except for the adhesive part peels the bark off with it. So that was no good. So I switched to this gardening tape, thinking this would work great because it's not wires, so it's not going to cut into the bark at all. It'll just bind the trees together and help them fuse together. So here you can see what I mean. And it's possible that I just am misusing it. I thought that this is what that tape was for. It was just some, $1 tape. It wasn't like huge thing, so I might just misuse it, but in any case, didn't work. So took it off, scrubbing it down with a toothbrush and some warm soapy water, rinsing it off with water, trying to get as much off as I can, but you can only do so much. These Ficus Benjaminas, they're these are young too. They're maybe 4 or 5 years old, so you can see where it's starting to wear the bark down just from a soft toothbrush. So you can only scrub it so much, and you got to just live with it a little bit, and over time I don't know what it'll do actually. We'll find out. But on a brighter note, you can see that the trees are fusing together. So I tried something different this time to give myself a little more time to research what to do next. This is just cloth. That's all it is. It didn't look too bad at the time. Putting some sphagnum moss around the base just as an experiment to see if it'll help with some grow some roots at the base or root flare. Now back to present day, April 2022. That cloth that was supposed to be a temporary solution 6 months ago, is really starting to look gross. And I have a different method that I'm going to try. So, also going back to a previous video that I did on a huge Ficus Benjamina bush that I got on Craigslist for $20. I've been experimenting with some fusions there. Just a whole bunch of cuttings, just wrapping them all up, fusing them together. And I'm going to wrap those up and fuse those together. But I've been using rubber bands. So I'm going to use rubber bands on this one. Here's a couple of the little cutting fusions that I've been working on. As you can see, I just take the rubber band and I wrap it around the trunk a few times, and then I take a paper clip or a stick or something just to kind of hold it in place. You'll see. I'm going to show you here. Of course, you can't go over the tree with the rubber band. You have to go around it. You just do like so. Then once you get it wrapped around enough times that you're comfortable with, you want it to be snug but not so tight it's going to choke it. Then you just put a stick through it. Then you cut it off so it's not a giant stick. But yeah, that's kind of the idea. Paper clips work, just anything. Even another cutting. Stick another cutting in there just through the loop to hold it in place. I've got so many of these. I must have 12 or 13 or 15. I don't know how many. Just tons of these little bundles of fusion joy. They have absolutely no structure going with them at all. That's way later. For now, I'm just trying to bind them together. I think that's what I'm trying to say there with my fist. Just holding it together. So I like the rubber band idea because it gives a little bit of stretch so that they can grow. It doesn't restrict growth and it doesn't bite into the bark. But it's not gonna stain it like that wrap did. It's not gonna peel the bark off like the electrical tape did a couple years ago when I tried that. So who knows? There might be a whole different bad reason not to use rubber bands that we'll find out next year. But for now, I think it'll work. And here's an update. This is a couple days later, but I was a responsible adult for once and I actually cleaned up my mess. Got everything sprayed with neem oil, cleaned up, cleaned out the greenhouse, swept everything out of there, sprayed it down with neem oil on the inside. Had a couple fans going, just tried to dry it out, clean it out. Then I put the trees back in. So, not trying to toot my own horn for cleaning out my mess, but it doesn't happen very often, so I have to toot my own horn a little. But yeah, it also gave me an opportunity to kind of reorganize the trees in there because I don't know what kind of Tetris game I was playing before, but it just looked so much more packed. And now everything just fits and has room. So it was a good thing that I did it. There's all my Ficus Fusion bundles. Now back to this. Gonna unwrap it. Take a little look here. So it's really, even though it's been 6 months, it's been 6 winter months, so it hasn't really grown a ton. I did notice though, and I'll zoom in, there's a spider web down at the base down there. I don't know what kind of spider it is. There's good spiders and bad spiders. The good ones eat the bugs. But I'm not a spider scientist, so I have no idea. So for now, got some warm soapy water. and a toothbrush. Not my toothbrush, someone else's. They won't mind. Get a little scrub-a-dub. That cloth that I had it wrapped in left some little blue fuzzies. So even that had a negative side effect. Here's the rubber bands, a couple of sticks, little wire cutter thing. What I'm gonna do is chop these sticks up into small pieces that I can use to hold the rubber bands in place. Try not to cut your finger off when you do this. Kind of reminds me of the Flintstones when Wilma sticks a bone through her hair. It's basically what this is. Stick your little chopstick in there to hold it in place. There you go. As for the sphagnum moss experiment, I've done that on a handful of trees and I've noticed some results, but I'm now thinking that it would work better if I wrapped that sphagnum moss a little bit more. But I don't know, I guess I'm sort of half scared to do that too because I don't want to rot the bark down there. So I'm halfway doing it, and it's never good to halfway do anything. So I think I'm actually gonna get rid of the sphagnum moss. We'll see. As usual, I like to stick my hand right in the middle of things so you can't see anything. Hopefully I realize that and move. There we go. And put the stick in and boom, holds it right in place. Rubber bands are cheap, they're easy. I'm hoping that they last, 6 months or a year. I don't know. I've never really weather tested a rubber band, but I left them in my car in the summer and they dry up and kind of just crack. So I know they're not gonna last forever. But who knows, maybe getting wet by watering it every day will help with that or make it worse. I don't know. We'll see. It'll work for now. Really anything you do to just hold the trees bound together will cause the trees to fuse. So it doesn't have to be perfect. Because as you can see, it is clearly not perfect. It's unruly. But this is it. This is, my little ficus fusion project. The first one I ever attempted. Now I have a whole bunch of them in there, but... So that's it. That's the update on the ficus fusion project. Please like and subscribe if you haven't yet. And you can see updates on this in the future. And you can go back and see previous status checks on it in the past. And all the other trees that I do. So I appreciate everybody who has done so, and thank you for that. Hope you enjoyed and have a good rest of your night.